The easiest place to lose $800 on a cruise is not the casino, the drink package, or the jewelry shop. Most passengers think a shore excursion is just a fun day off the ship, but ports are designed to make fast decisions feel normal. The second scam happens when a cheap-looking third-party tour quietly removes the protection you thought you still had. Then, there are the official port guides, who are not official in any way that actually protects your money. One of the most expensive mistakes is believing every taxi near the pier is operating on a fair, regulated price. The beach club package looks simple until you realize the chair. Umbrella, lunch, locker, and ride back were never included. Shopping excursions may sound harmless, but those recommended stores are not always recommended because they're the best value. The free charm, free bracelet, and free gemstone map are some of the oldest hooks in cruise tourism. Private island add-ons can turn a beach day you already paid for into a second vacation bill. Photo stops, animal encounters, and cultural shows can be wonderful, but some are built more for selling upgrades than delivering experiences. The most stressful scam is the tour that changes the schedule after you've already paid. Food and drink tastings can be worth it, but the fake local experience version is usually just a sales funnel with snacks. Currency confusion is where small purchases become expensive without ever feeling expensive in the moment. The worst trap is not one excursion, but stacking 3 or 4 small decisions until the total damage disappears into your onboard account. Once you know the patterns, you can still enjoy every port without walking around suspicious of everyone. The easiest place to lose $800 on a cruise is not the casino, the drink package, or the jewelry shop. It's the shore excursion page. That little list of must-see beach days, city tours, snorkel trips, rum tastings, catamaran rides, ATV adventures, and cultural experiences can look harmless when you're sitting at home imagining turquoise water. But by the time your cruise is over, a family of 4 can easily spend more on a few hours in port than they spent on flights. And the frustrating part is this: a lot of that money does not go toward a better experience. It goes toward convenience fees, middlemen, tourist traps, inflated transfers, and pressure tactics designed for people who are relaxed, excited, and afraid of missing the ship. Now, I'm not here to tell you never to book cruise line excursions. Sometimes they're absolutely worth it, if the port is far from the attraction, if the activity involves boats or border crossings, or if the timing is tight, that official tour can be the smart choice. But cruise lines, port vendors, and excursion brokers all know one thing about you before you ever step off the gangway: you are on a clock. And when travelers are on a clock, they overpay. So today I'm walking you through 15 shore excursion scams and traps that can quietly drain your cruise budget. Some are flat-out scams. Some are legal, polished, and hidden in plain sight. And a few are so normal that most passengers never question them. Pay close attention to the one about free shopping gifts, because that tiny giveaway can pull people into some of the most expensive decisions of the entire trip. Most passengers think a shore excursion is just a fun day off the ship. You pick something, you pay, you show up, and someone with a clipboard tells you where to stand. That's the dream version. The real version is a little messier. You're in a port you may not know, surrounded by signs, vendors, drivers, guides, and passengers all moving at once. Your phone may not have great service. You might not know the local currency. You may not know what a taxi should cost. And you definitely know the ship will not rearrange its schedule because you wandered too far or trusted the wrong person. That pressure is what makes cruise passengers valuable targets. Not because cruisers are foolish, but because cruisers are time limited. A land traveler can walk away, compare prices, sleep on it, and come back tomorrow. A cruise passenger has maybe 6 hours. That changes the psychology completely. You'll see an excursion listed for, say, $129 per person. It includes transportation, a guide, and maybe a beach stop. Sounds reasonable? Then later, you discover the same local operator sells a nearly identical tour directly for $65 or $75. For 2 people, that difference stings. For a family of 4, that's dinner money, souvenir money, or half the cost of your next deposit. Now, the cruise line is not necessarily scamming you by charging more. They're bundling convenience, coordination, customer support, and in many cases, return-to-ship protection. That has value. The scam is when passengers are made to feel the cruise line version is automatically the only safe or legitimate option. Here's the move. Compare before you sail. Search the port name, the exact attraction, and the phrase cruise excursion. Look for operators with real websites, clear cancellation policies, recent reviews, and ship time return guarantees. Then ask yourself whether the cruise line premium is buying protection you actually need, or just saving you 10 minutes of research. Sometimes paying more is wise. Sometimes it's just expensive obedience. The second scam happens when a cheap-looking third-party tour quietly removes the protection you thought you still had. This one catches experienced travelers because the offer looks smart. A beach day is $89 through the ship, but $42 through a vendor online. You book it, feel proud, and tell yourself, same beach, half the price. But the hidden cost is risk. If that private van gets stuck in traffic, if the boat engine fails, if the guide changes the schedule, the ship is not obligated to wait for you just because you had a good reason. That does not mean private tours are bad. I use them when the math and timing make sense, but I treat them differently. I want the tour to end at least 2 hours before all aboard time if the attraction is far away. I want the operator to regularly serve cruise passengers. I want reviews, mentioning my actual cruise port, not just generic 5-star comments. And I want a phone number that works on the day of the tour. If a private operator gets annoyed when you ask about return time, that is your answer. A good cruise-focused guide understands the clock. A careless one treats your ship like a suggestion. Then there are the official port guides, who are not official in any way that actually protects your money. You step outside the terminal, and someone in a polo shirt says, "Cruise guests this way," or "Official tour desk right here." They may have a badge, they may have a clipboard, they may even be standing under a sign that looks permanent. But official looking is not the same as authorized by your cruise line, licensed by the port, or accountable if something goes wrong. The trick is confidence. Scammers and aggressive vendors know that travelers look for authority signals. Matching shirts, laminated passes, words like approved, official, recommended, and partner. None of that means much unless you can verify who they work for. Your defense is simple. Know where your meeting point is before leaving the ship. Cruise line excursions usually meet in specific areas, often on board or directly at the pier with clearly identified staff. Independent tours should give you exact instructions in writing. If someone intercepts you and says your tour changed, your bus moved, or your guide sent them, pause. Do not hand over money. Do not follow them away from the crowd. Contact the company using the number from your confirmation, not the number the stranger gives you. One of the most expensive mistakes is believing every taxi near the pier is operating on a fair, regulated price. Taxi scams at cruise ports are not always dramatic. Most of the time, it's just a quiet overcharge. A driver quotes $25 and later claims it was $25 per person. A short ride becomes a tour. A meter is broken. The promised round trip suddenly costs extra because traffic was bad. Or the driver drops you at a cousin's beach club, restaurant, or store because they get a commission. And look, most local drivers are honest people trying to make a living. The problem is that tourist zones attract the ones who know passengers are rushed and unfamiliar. Before you get in, confirm 3 things out loud: total price, currency, and whether it covers everyone in the vehicle. Say, "Is that total for all 4 of us in US dollars round trip?" It feels awkward for 3 seconds. It can save you a nasty argument later. Even better, use official. Taxi stands when available. Take a photo of the vehicle number and ask when you need to leave to return comfortably before all aboard time. If the driver keeps dodging the price, pick another driver. Your vacation is not the place to reward vagueness. The beach club package looks simple until you realize the chair, umbrella, lunch, locker, towel, and ride back were never included. This is where people get nickel and dime to death. The excursion page shows white sand, blue water, smiling people, and the words beach escape. You assume you're paying for the beach day. But the basic ticket may only include transportation and entry. Once you arrive, shade costs extra. Better seating costs extra. Food costs extra. Wi-Fi costs extra. Lockers cost extra. The inflatable water park costs extra. The return shuttle might be at fixed times, and if you miss it, you're paying again. The scam is not always the price. It's the incomplete picture. A $49 beach transfer can become a $160 day without one clear moment where you feel scammed. It just happens one wristband at a time. Before booking any beach, break. Read what is included, like you're reviewing a bill. Chair included, umbrella included, lunch included, drinks included, restrooms included, return transportation included. What time does it leave? What time does it return? If those answers are missing, assume you're buying the cheapest version of the day, not the day pictured in the brochure. Shopping excursions may sound harmless, but those recommended stores are not always recommended because they're the best value. This is a delicate one because some port shopping programs are legitimate and some passengers genuinely enjoy them. But the phrase recommended store can create a false sense of safety. People hear it and think, the cruise line has vetted this as the best deal. Maybe. Or maybe that store participates in a marketing arrangement, pays for placement, or benefits from steering cruise passengers through a controlled shopping route. The real danger is not buying a t-shirt. It's jewelry, watches, gemstones, art, and luxury goods you do not fully understand. A charming salesperson tells you the piece is appraised much higher than the price. You're offered a today-only discount because the ship leaves soon. They mention guarantees, certificates, or upgrade programs. Suddenly, a vacation souvenir becomes a four-figure purchase made under time pressure. Here's the rule. If you would not buy it at home after 24 hours, of research, do not buy it in port because someone handed you a map. For small souvenirs, enjoy yourself. For expensive jewelry, treat the port like a showroom, not a checkout counter. The free charm, free bracelet, and free gemstone map are some of the oldest hooks in cruise tourism. This is the tiny giveaway I mentioned earlier, and it works because it feels harmless. You get a coupon on board, or at the port talk. It says you can collect a free charm, pendant, gemstone, bracelet, or charm bracelet piece at certain stores. So you go in, you ask for the free item, and now you're standing in the selling zone. That free trinket is not the product. You are the product. I'm not judging anyone for collecting the freebies. Honestly, if you enjoy the scavenger hunt and you can walk away, have fun. But go in with your guard up. Do not sit down for a presentation unless you want a presentation. Do not let a salesperson clean your jewelry if you're uncomfortable. Do not let free become the reason you spend $900. The best move is to decide before entering. I'm collecting the free item only. Say it kindly, smile, and leave. The moment you start explaining, negotiating, or apologizing, the sales process has already begun. Private island add-ons can turn a beach day you already paid for into a second vacation bill. Cruise private islands are beautiful. They're also masterclasses in controlled spending. You step off the ship thinking, great, beach day included. And yes, the beach itself may be included. But then you see cabanas, daybeds, water parks, zip lines, upgraded buffets, exclusive areas, snorkel rentals, floating mats, premium loungers, and drink. Packages that somehow still do not make everything feel free. This is not always a scam. It's upselling. But it becomes a trap when passengers forget they already paid for access to the island as part of the cruise. You can have a perfectly good day without buying the extras. Before you sail, look at the island map and decide what would actually improve your day. A cabana may be worth it for a multi-generational family with kids and grandparents. A water park pass may be worth it for teenagers. But renting every shiny add-on because you don't want to miss out is how a free beach day becomes one of the most expensive days of the cruise. The question is not, is this fun? Of course it's fun. Photo stops, animal encounters, and cultural shows can be wonderful. But some are built more for selling upgrades than delivering experiences. This is the excursion where the description sounds rich and immersive. Scenic overlook, local village, traditional performance, wildlife experience, artisan demonstration. You imagine depth. You imagine connection. Then the day arrives, and half the tour is waiting in lines for staged photos, being guided through gift shops, or getting pitched picture packages that cost more than the tour itself. Animal encounters deserve extra caution. Some are conservation-focused and responsibly managed. Others are tourist photo factories. If the main selling point is holding, riding, touching, or posing with an animal, research it carefully before giving anyone your money. For cultural tours, look for specifics. How long is the actual activity? Who operates it? Are local guides paid directly? Does the itinerary list a market stop that sounds suspiciously like a shopping stop? A good cultural excursion should teach you something beyond where the register is. I'm not saying avoid these tours. I'm saying read between the glossy lines. Time for shopping can mean 10 minutes to browse handmade crafts, or it can mean 40 minutes trapped at a store where your guide gets a kickback. The most stressful scam is the tour that changes the schedule after you've already paid. This one usually starts politely. The operator says the original stop is unavailable, the boat is delayed, the road is closed, the beach is crowded, or they have an even better option. Sometimes changes are legitimate. Weather happens, port logistics change. But sometimes the new version is cheaper for them, worse for you, and harder to dispute because you're already there. A snorkeling tour becomes a beach transfer. A city tour skips 2 landmarks. A small group experience becomes a packed bus. A 4-hour excursion quietly becomes 6 hours, which is terrifying when your ship leaves that afternoon. Your protection is documentation. Screenshot the itinerary. Save the advertised inclusions. Know the refund terms. If the tour changes before departure and you're uncomfortable, ask clearly. Is this the same itinerary I paid for? If the answer is no, ask what refund or partial refund is available. Do not be embarrassed to speak up. You are not being difficult. You are making sure the product you paid for still exists. Food and drink tastings can be worth it, but the fake local experience version is usually just a sales funnel with snacks. Rum tasting, chocolate tasting, tequila tasting, coffee plantation, spice farm, cooking demo. These can be some of the best excursions in port when they're authentic. But there's another version where you ride 20 minutes, sample 3 tiny cups, listen to a sales pitch, and get released into a gift shop with inflated prices. The red flag is vague language. Taste local flavors could mean a real guided experience, or it could mean a thimble of liquor and a coupon. Look for details. How many tastings? How long the demonstration lasts? Whether food is included? Whether transportation is round trip? And whether the location is an actual producer or just a retail stop wearing a costume. Also, be careful with alcohol-heavy excursions early in the day. Impaired tourists are easier to upsell, easier to overcharge, and more likely to lose track of time. Enjoy yourself, but keep one person in your group, responsible for the clock, the receipt, and the ride back. Currency confusion is where small purchases become expensive without ever feeling expensive in the moment. This happens constantly in ports that accept US dollars alongside local currency. A vendor quotes a price. You assume dollars. They mean local currency. Or they show a card terminal in won, currency, then offer convenient conversion at a terrible rate. Or a souvenir marked 40 looks cheap until you realize 40 in that currency is not what your vacation brain thought it was. The fix is boring, which is why it works. Before leaving the ship, check the local exchange rate and memorize one simple conversion. Not 10 numbers. 1. Something like $10 is about this much. Use a calculator when needed. Pay in local currency by card when the terminal asks, unless your card has unusual fees. And never let embarrassment rush you. If a price seems unclear, ask. What is the total in US dollars? If they refuse to answer plainly, you do not need the souvenir that badly. Another quiet trap is the exclusive access excursion that is not exclusive at all. You'll see phrases like VIP, limited, private, hidden, secret, premium, or once in a lifetime. Then you arrive and find 3 buses from 3 ships parked outside the same entrance. Everyone has the same wristband. Everyone gets the same buffet. Everyone is standing in the same line for the same view. Marketing language is powerful because it lets us imagine a better version than the one being sold. Small group might mean 20 people. VIP beach might mean a roped-off section with slightly nicer chairs. Private island experience might mean a crowded tourist facility that happens to be on an island. Before paying premium prices, look for numbers. Maximum group size. Exact location. Dedicated guide or shared guide. Private transportation or shared transportation. Reserved seating or general admission. If they use luxury words but avoid measurable promises, you may be buying adjectives. The local market stop is another one that sounds charming until it becomes compulsory shopping. A real market can be fantastic. You see local produce, crafts, spices, art, and daily life. But some tours use market as a softer word for commission retail stop. The bus pulls in. The guide says you have 30 minutes. The prices are high, the vendors are aggressive, and somehow the driver knows exactly which shop you should visit. The issue is not shopping. It's losing excursion time you thought would be spent exploring. If a tour includes multiple shopping stops, understand that those stops may be part of the business model. Read reviews for phrases like too much shopping, wasted time, forced stop, guide pushed us to buy, or commission. Those are not one-off complaints, they are clues. If you enjoy markets, choose a tour where the market is the point, not filler. If you don't want shopping, avoid itineraries that keep mentioning free time to browse. That phrase can mean anything from relaxing exploration to a slow-motion wallet extraction. Water sports rentals create another easy overcharge, especially when the rules are explained after you're already excited. Jet skis, kayaks, paddleboards, snorkel gear, banana boats, parasailing, and floating mats all have one thing in common. The advertised price is rarely the only price you need to understand. There may be deposits, damage waivers, mandatory insurance, time limits, late fees, guide fees, photo fees, locker fees, and cash-only charges. Inspect equipment before using it. Take photos of scratches or damage. Confirm the return time. Ask what happens if weather changes. And never leave your passport or credit card as an open-ended deposit unless you are completely comfortable with the operator. For snorkel gear, consider bringing your own mask if you cruise often. A decent mask can pay for itself after a few trips, and you avoid rental quality surprises. For expensive rentals, ask yourself whether the operator has a real office, clear pricing, and visible safety procedures. My cousin has a jet ski right over there is not a safety plan. The fake scarcity trick may be the most common excursion pressure tactic of all. You'll hear it before the cruise, on the ship at the port desk, and from vendors outside the terminal. Only 2 spots left. Last chance. Price goes up in 10 minutes. This tour sells out every sailing. Sometimes that's true. Popular excursions do sell out, but urgency is also a sales tool. And cruise passengers are especially vulnerable because the whole vacation is built around limited time. When you feel pressure, slow down. Scarcity should not make the decision for you. Ask, would I still want this at this price if there were 50 spots left? Have I compared alternatives? Do I understand the cancellation policy? Does this fit the day I actually want? Or am I buying it because I'm afraid of regret? The best excursions are booked with confidence, not panic. If someone needs you, to decide before you can think, that tells you a lot about the deal. The worst trap is not one excursion, but stacking 3 or 4 small decisions until the total damage disappears into your onboard account. This is how people come home confused. They didn't buy one outrageous thing. They bought a marked up tour, then a taxi, then 2 beach chairs, then drinks, then photos, then a bracelet, then a locker, then a snack, then a tip they hadn't planned for. Each purchase felt small. Together, they became the $800 leak. Cruise spending is dangerous because it's fragmented. You're not always handing over cash. Sometimes it's a room key, sometimes it's a wristband, sometimes it's a card tap in a currency you barely processed. Your brain experiences it as vacation noise, not budgeting. So set a port day number before you leave the ship. Not a vague goal, a number. Today we are spending $150 outside the prepaid tour. Or we are doing beach transportation, lunch, and one souvenir each. That simple boundary changes everything. You can still be spontaneous, but you're spontaneous inside a fence. Once you know the patterns, you can still enjoy every port without walking around suspicious of everyone. That's really the point here. This is not about being paranoid. It's about being awake. Most guides, drivers, vendors, and local business owners are not trying to ruin your vacation. Many of them work incredibly hard, and the best ones can turn a port stop into the highlight of your cruise. But the tourist economy has pressure points, and cruise passengers are standing right on top of them. So here's the simple system. Book official cruise excursions when timing, distance, or complexity makes the protection worth the premium. Book independent tours when the operator is well-reviewed, cruise-aware, clear about timing, and transparent about refunds. Use official taxi stands when possible. Confirm total prices before accepting rides or rentals. Treat free gifts as sales invitations. Be cautious with expensive jewelry and luxury purchases. Read inclusions like a contract. And give yourself more time to return than you think you need. If you do only those things, you will avoid most of the expensive mistakes that catch passengers every single sailing. And remember, cruise lines do not have to be evil for these traps to exist. Ports are commercial ecosystems. Everyone is trying to sell something. The excursion desk sells convenience. The vendor sells access. The driver sells speed. The shop sells urgency. Your job is not to stop enjoying your vacation. Your job is to stop confusing convenience with value. 6 months from now, you probably won't remember the exact price of every excursion you skipped, but you will remember the port where you felt in control, came back relaxed, and didn't spend the evening staring at your account, wondering how the day got so expensive. You now know what most first-time cruisers learn the hard way. The brochure photo is not the full price. The official-looking badge is not always authority. The free charm is not really free. The cheapest tour is not always the best deal. And the safest choice is not always the most expensive one. If this helped you spot at least 3 traps you had never thought about before, like the video, so more cruisers see it before they sail. And drop a comment with the port where you've seen the worst excursion pricing, taxi pressure, or shopping gimmick. Your experience may save someone else real money on their next trip, because the best cruise memories should come from the water, the food, the people, and the places you came to see. Not from learning, too late, that the most expensive part of your vacation was the part you thought would be simple.